Okay, so we're recording, and I just want to welcome everyone into this space, whether you are joining live for this very impromptu message that I have to give out, or if you're going to watch this as a recording later. I am just trusting that who is ever here is who needs to hear this message that came through yesterday. So, if you're joining me live, this was very impromptu for a call. Yesterday, so I'm doing this call on August 9th. Yesterday was what we call the Lionsgate portal. And for many of us, we have been feeling this buildup. And if you're feeling like this buildup of this, like, I feel like I've been in this stagnant place. Maybe it's not necessarily a bad place because I don't like to label things good or bad. It's just this place where it's like, hey, I know there's more for me. Have any of you felt like that? Where you're
Hmm.
just like, raise your hand, like, hey, I know there's more for me, but
Yes.
I haven't been able to figure it out. Or I know in my head what I should be doing for my health or whatever, but I'm not doing it. And it's not that we feel like, like all doom and gloom, but at the same time, we're like, what is the more? What is this life that I'm trying to create? And so the Lionsgate portal is the cosmos are for us right now for manifestation and really getting clear on calling in our dreams, but in a way that allows us to receive more messages. And so I knew this was coming. I've been kind of feeling it building up all week as a creative entrepreneur. My mind has been nonstop for the last several days, where it was just kind of like message after like, oh, I need to share that with people. And one of the things that I realized as I was kind of coming out of July was a really rough month for me. It was a very what I call constricted month. I had a lot of activities for the kids, and so I was putting some of my business endeavors kind of on hold, on pause, not putting as much love and attention into the work I love to do. And what I realized as when I decided to like take the time in August to sit with my thoughts every morning and journal out and get in with my intentions and really connect with spirit. And in that process, what I realized is that I have a lot of ideas in me that I keep inside of me, right? A lot of thoughts or a lot of things I want to share with others that I keep inside of me because I'm like, oh, that's going to be too much of a concept, or it's going to be too bold or too big or too whatever. Does anybody ever feel like that in your life, that you're like too big for the ideas in the room, right? Your ideas are like, maybe it's in your work, or maybe it's in, in your circles of people that you're around. It's like you're too big for that circle. So instead of keeping your energy at the level of your energy, you just kind of like hide in plain sight. You bring your energy down. Okay. And when we do that, it actually creates more stagnation. It was almost like I was this combustible like bomb or something, where I was like, oh my gosh, I was just feeling like this, ugh, because all of these ideas were inside of me. And so yesterday morning on the Lionsgate, I was doing this meditation, and it was about calling in your dreams, not shrinking. That's the message that's been coming through a lot. And they asked for 3 words. Come up with 3 words that describes the experience that you want to have. And with these 3 words, all of this, I wrote down the 3 words, and then all of this information came into me. And so that's what we're going to talk about on the call today. But first, we're going to do a little bit of silence. I'm going to put on a song. I want to just kind of bring us into this space because you're here because you're seeking something. And one of the things that I know is I have a lot of information in me, but I want to make sure it gets out to you in a clear way, right? So one of the words that I wrote down was clarity, right? It was clarity. It was like, how can I more clearly describe to you what it means to live in alignment, what it means to live wild, what it means to live free? And so then the rest of the message came. And so I'm hoping, my hope and my wish for today is that the way this message came through for me, it will help you see why you, with a little bit more, like it's almost like we're peeling back the layers. We're like, we've got our third eye right here. We're going to pop it open. We're taking off the rose colored glasses and we're seeing with a little bit more clarity where we might be stuck. Okay. And where we might, like, why we might be feeling the stagnation, and then how to move forward in our life in a really easily tangible way, how we move forward to call in this more that we know is out there, we know is waiting for us, this vibrant life of whatever that looks like for you, because you get to decide what it is for you. So before we do that, I just want to take a minute and we're going to do some deep breaths. And I'm going to put on a song and I'm going to do a little bit of a guided meditation for you. And we are going to, let me see, I got to put um, the right song on that I had picked. Okay, so just take a couple minutes. Let's just connect into this space.
All I see are angels, all these streets of gold.
I want you to just breathe in with every inhale. I want you to breathe into your body.
And I'm holding you.
You can breathe in up into your
simple
womb
as a
space.
song, a melody
Whatever feels good for you.
In this heart.
Deep breaths in through the nose, exhale out through the mouth.
When it started,
put your hands over your heart. You can put your hands over your heart.
Holding my breath for chariots. I'm not just waiting for skies to part. You've been my glimpse of kingdom right from the start. And you got me touching heaven.
You've got all of these ideas, all of these thoughts in your head, and I want you to imagine that all of these ideas, all of these thoughts that you have, you're just taking them with each breath and you're pushing them down into that heart space, that beautiful, beautiful heart space, where love emanates from, where our truth emanates from. And then you can take them further down into the solar plexus, which is in that mid area.
Ain't no hiding you.
I want you to ask yourself, we just experienced a new moon a couple of days ago. We've got this Lionsgate portal. We're shifting into a beautiful energy that we can use as a way to expand and grow and experience what we want to experience in life for the rest of 2024. And so I ask you right now, what are 3 words that describe what you want to experience in your life? This can be anything in your life. This can be in your business. This can be in your health. This can be in your work. This is just, all of it blends and melds together and dances together. What do you want to experience? What are the words that describe how you want to experience the rest of 2024?
Yes, you are.
Deep breaths in. Deep breaths out. Let them come to you. If you need to take a piece of paper and write them down, write them down. This is your space. This is your time today. I want this to be a beautiful way for you to come into your body today and just all right, as you come up with those 3 words, I want you to take another couple of deep breaths. Raise your hand above your heads, kind of shake it out a little bit. And what I want you to do is I want you to write down the 3 words, like the 3 words that came through for you. And if you are bold and brave and wild today, which I know all of you are, I want you to drop those in the chat as well. Go find that chat feature, drop them in. What do you want to experience? So my words were magnetic, confident, and abundant. I want to feel magnetic. I want to live in my space of energy. No
Yeah.
more turning down the temperature just because I think I might be too much for somebody. Or maybe they're not in the place to connect with me. No more doing that, but more of just like, hey, here's where I'm at. I'm magnetic for all of you. I'm going to give you a magnetic message, a message of abundance, a message of peace, but in a confident way. Compassion, strength, expansion. Love that. So good. All right. So now I'm going to share, as I was in this meditation, I got this little message, and this is where this clarity and this confidence comes through, and this abundance. I want to explain to you. A lot of times I talk about peace, strength, belief, freedom, peace, life, authentic, happy, healthy. Write those down. And as we go through this next little section, I've got my whole notebook here. It's like pages. And so we're just going to start the activation right now because we still have so much Lionsgate energy that we can work with for the next couple of days. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start this process. We're going to begin this process of opening up. But for the next couple days, we're about ready to go into the weekend. Find some time for you, find some space for you, do those things that light you up to get your body and your mind activated, and spend some time journaling out. Like, what do those words actually mean to you? And I think once we go through the rest of this, it will be clear. So what does it actually mean to be living in alignment, to be living wild, to be living freedom, light, peace, healthy, happy, authentic? What does that actually mean? How do we actually achieve that, right? And so this is where my little circles come in right here, is that everything we do in life, everything we do, whether we're working on our health or our business, and those are the two main examples I'm going to be using because that's where I work primarily with women, is in their physical health and in their business, right? To elevate their business, elevate their work that they're doing, elevate their health as part of that, or just elevate their health, right? And that's what I've been doing for a lot of years. And so this is what I know. And so these were the examples that came through me when I was writing. And so I'm going to explain this with, I don't have a fancy PowerPoint or anything like that. It's coming. I know it will be. But for today, we're going to use these two circles, right? I want you to and you can draw a circle, two circles on your page. Or you can just put like on your page, like circle 1, and then you're going to write a list in circle 2. Okay. And so what happens is everything we do in life is made up of physical components and spiritual components. Okay. And those physical components are not independent from the spiritual, and the spiritual is not independent from the physical. But yet we attempt in this society that we are raised in, we attempt to keep these separate. We attempt to keep our emotions separate from our physical. Oh, my hip doesn't hurt because of whatever. Oh, my hormones aren't a mess because I feel like I need to control everything, right? They're in these two different camps. And so what happens is when we're looking at these two different camps, we are looking at them separately. And when we look at them separately and we try to live our lives in separate ways, that is when we are out of alignment. That's when we are in stagnant energy. That's when we are in constricted energy. Nothing can flow in our bodies when we're like this. And so what our goal is to get them to overlap. And so maybe we're getting them to overlap just a little bit in our life. And so we're like, hey, we're not doing bad. We're getting by, but we're not thriving. And if you're on this call or if you're listening, you want to thrive. Alignment, living wild, is when we get the two circles to overlap fully and completely. I mean, we could look at these as moons because I love the moon, right?
Mhm.
We're getting them into complete and total alignment. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to look at what are the physical things? What are the spiritual things? How do we get them to come together? Now, you could also say that the physical things are the masculine side of energy, And the spiritual is the feminine side, right? So, feminine, divine feminine is that slower approach to life. It's understanding the wisdom of our body, it's bringing beauty into so much. The masculine is the more controlled, this is XYZ task list, things like that. Neither one is wrong or right, right? There's a lot of like, you can see it like makes me feel icky when people are like, oh, the masculine is so awful. No, we need both. We need both. It's and or. It's and both, not and or. But we're gonna bring them together, okay? So the first thing we're gonna do is we're going to look at that physical side. And this is where you're gonna start to write down things. And the physical is usually where everything in our head we know we're supposed to do. Okay? It's everything we know in our head that you are supposed to do. It's more of the black and white, right? So let's look at health goals and business, okay? So the physical things that we know we need to do in our health are we know we need to move our body, right? If you want to lose weight, it's calories in versus calories out. It's the right macronutrients and micronutrients for your body. It's getting your 10,000 steps a day in. It's getting 8 hours of sleep, right? Those are those very tangible pieces of weight loss or health that have to happen, right? We can't dismiss them. Those are what we have to have, what has to happen. And so if you have a goal right now and like what you want to experience in life, maybe it's something in your health, write down the list of those things that you know you should be doing, right? Because most of us, do most of you like show of hands or put it in the chat? Do you know what you should probably be doing to expand, but you're just not doing it with consistency, right? You know, we all know. We all know, okay? So those are those physical things. In our business, it might be something like, I know I need to show up on social media every day. If I'm doing an online business, you know when you go to work that you have to do XYZ at your job. You know that, like, you know that if you are in sales, which basically all of us are, you know that you have to find and meet new people. You know that you have to send some emails, you have to nourish your network, you have to do all the things, right? You have to like do all these tangible things in order to create. Now, some people might call this the 3D things, those daily ins and outs, right? Like you got to clean your house, you have to do all these things, you have to do these things. Like I'm never going to discredit that we have to do these. These are the physicals. Those are the things that we have to do. Okay? Now, let's bring in the spiritual. Okay? So this is the spiritual component of what's on the other side of the physical, right? The spiritual component is what we call the 5D, right? So you might hear people talk about the 5D. The 5 is a different dimension. It's an elevated space of being. If you go back to some of my old content that I've done, I talk about the vibrations. It's the different vibrations. It's the higher expansion. It's the very constricted energy, and it matches the other thing. So what are the spirituals in our health journey? Right? The spiritual is primarily, it's going to be the subconscious. The subconscious drivers, right? Because the subconscious is the part of the brain that drives most of our actions, 90% of our actions. But it's also the part of our brain that we are unaware of, right? Because it's programming, it's patterning, it's maybe the environment you're in, the environment you grew up in, right? So the spiritual component, we can't see it. It's not tangible. It's subconscious. But it's what sabotages us, because on the physical side, it's why do I have food addictions? Why am I overeating? Why do I not honor my body enough to move it? Like I know in my head that I can do this, but why do I listen to those little voices? Maybe it's the little voices, maybe it's the big voices. And why do I sabotage myself? Why am I constantly giving in every area of my life instead of allowing myself to receive? And this could become a time factor, right? Maybe you're over giving in areas of your life so that you're not able to receive time to care for your body, right? Because you're giving, okay? So this spiritual component is the emotional piece. It's the subconscious piece. It's the piece where we have to look in the mirror and we have to do the work, right? And so if we look at, I'm just going to go, one of the biggest reasons that I'm looking at this physical piece of releasing weight is because for the last 9 months, I have been on a journey of figuring this crap out for myself, right? I know I come from a family of food addiction. If it's not food addiction, it's alcohol addiction, it's drug addiction, it's whatever other kind of addiction. I know I come from that. I come from a space where it is very much everything revolved around food. And I kept trying to use the excuse that, oh, I just have bad genes, I have bad metabolism. But that was actually a big load of bullshit. And so I got clear on what it is. And this year I have been able to release 25 pounds, which is a significant amount, because I looked at the physical and I looked at the spiritual. I was willing to go to the spiritual so that they can overlap and I can come into alignment with my goals, right? I didn't just look at one or the other, which I had been trying to do for so many years, knowing that I needed to do. I overlapped them
in front of the garage.
so that they work together. Okay. So in the physical, you want to create goals, but in the spiritual, this is the harder piece to get. It's not impossible, but it's usually the more challenging one because we have to look in the mirror. We have to own our stuff. We have to do energy work and deeper healing work to break those patterns. We have to be consciously aware every single day of what we're doing so we can move forward. If we're in our business, we have to ask ourselves, okay, maybe I'm posting every day on social media, but why am I not getting the results? Because I'm not bringing in the spiritual aspect to my business, right? The spiritual aspect isn't just the subconscious, it's you understanding that you are surrounded by guides. Whether that is Holy Spirit, Mary Magdalene, Jesus, God, Gaia, a goddess, I don't care who it is. We are surrounded by guides and spirit and messages, but yet so often we don't want to hear what they have to say. Number two, we hear it, but we dismiss it thinking like, oh, it's not that, it's not whatever. Or we don't pause long enough in our day to hear and assimilate the messages that are coming through. The messages right now are profound and big. And so that's why I'm asking you, like, hey, slow down and listen to these messages. That's what I did when I was feeling like, crazy lady coming out of July and going into August. I was like, hey, I haven't slowed down to listen to see what my messages are. Everything in my life, when I am in a state of flow and alignment, is when I connect to spirit multiple times throughout the day. When I listen to my body, because our body intuition is also a piece of the spiritual. There is like ancient, beautiful wisdom flowing through each and every one of us. Wisdom of being a woman. That's in us. It's already in us. It's our intuition. And that is where the magic happens. It's not listening to our own body. We're like so busy over here, and I don't even remember what color is what color now, but we're so busy over here focused in on what Julie's doing to lose weight or what Karen's doing or what so-and-so, oh my gosh, this big influencer, she has like 20,000 followers and she's telling me I have to do it this way. But that way isn't your way. That's not what your body wants. Right? It's kind of like on the physical, like, oh, you got to do keto, you got to count macros, you got to like do blah, 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 blah. It's exhausting. and it's overwhelming and it's putting us in the space of analysis paralysis. And then you contradict it with like, hey, I'm not listening to what my guides say and what my intuition says. And then we wonder why we feel like a hot mess. And then we wonder why we feel like we're just sitting in this stagnation, or we're wondering like, hey, why can't I achieve my goals? Like, I am this smart, intelligent, beautiful woman. We know this, but I can't figure my shit out. Anybody feel like that some days? Most of it is because, I would say 99.9% of it is because we're trying to do too much of what everybody else is doing and not doing enough of what we're doing. And we're not bringing these two areas together, so we create this overlap like this. Okay? So how do we create the overlap? You're like, Katie, I don't know how to create the overlap. That's what I'm teaching you. So when you follow me, when you work with me, when you join the Wild Woman, or it's not Wild Woman Collective, when you join the Facebook group, when you read my emails, everything that I'm going to share, even if it seems like it's random and all over the place, is to bring this here. It's for you to begin to remember and trust your own body. And when you remember and trust your own body, and then you bring it in with these tangible, like, hey, what's the best food plan for Kat or Kara or Erin? And teaching you like how to really dive into what works well for your body. Because it's not the same. Like, I do well with macro tracking for now. But the macro tracking has to be brought into intuition of like, hey, what foods does my body need today? I'm still going to track macros. But like, do I need some beef today because I'm in my cycle? Or do I want some raw fruits and vegetables because I'm ovulating? Right? Do I need more soups? Do I need more raw? It's using my intuition, understanding my body and how my body was designed to blend the physical and the spiritual together. It's asking my body each day, what do I need? I'm going to move my body today, but yesterday I didn't feel like, or no, Tuesday, I didn't feel like running. I was like, I just kicked my butt in a workout yesterday, and today I'm going to walk. This morning, I was like, Katie's going to run the entire way. I'm going to run all 4 miles. No walking. Dog's not going to come with me. I'm going to crank up the Pink. Pink is like one of my favorite artists to run to. And we are going to do this, right? It's learning how to do that and learning how to trust when it's our body talking or when it's those voices in our head. I don't want you to think this is complicated, because it doesn't have to be. It's about slowing down. Kat says, not pausing long enough to hear the messages is my troubled spot. If that was the only thing you focused in on for the rest of August, there'd be some pretty cool shit that would happen. Just that one thing. That 10-minute pause at the beginning of the day with your mug of coffee. This morning I sat out on my deck. It was so gorgeous out. I didn't have my phone with me. I didn't have anything. And I'm just like, I am going to sit here and be present in this moment. There was some owls still hooting. There was like this gentle breeze coming through the trees. And I just sat there. And the message from Spirit was, it's okay to not even think about anything right now. Just sit here and pause in this piece. And it was so beautiful. So, what does it look like? It's learning how to blend them together. So energy work helps with that. Pausing, learning how your body interacts with the moon and understanding, like, this is a lot of pattern unweaving, because we think that we're taught that we only have to do the physical to make everything work. Right? We're taught. And for women, most of us, our version of success is basically a man's version of success. And if the right Aaron's on the phone that I think that's on today, you might also work in a male-dominated industry. And so for them, the constant to-do list and the checking off of the boxes, that's how they're designed. How many of you work in a male-dominated field? I did for years. because this is okay for them. But how do you balance it? It might not mean that you have to go to a different field. It doesn't mean that you have to quit your job. Some of you might, some of you may not. It doesn't mean you have to quit your job. It just means you need to learn how to bring more of this in so we can go like this. How do we experience everyday magic to bring in more of this? How do we experience freedom, peace, and light, strength, peace, belief, authentic, healthy, happy, compassion, strength, and expansion? How do we experience that when we blend the two together? Okay, so something came up for you. Write it down. What's that one thing that you could focus in on right now? That you could focus in on right now to shift where you're at, to create the expansion, to get out of the frequency of the 100 to 150 and get up into that frequency of love and understanding where things don't bother you as much. To get more into the 5D than the 3D. To figure out how to create the balance. What are some things? Like for Kat, maybe it's like, hey, I am going to spend more time hanging out with myself in the mornings or whatever, slowing down with that intention, like setting the phone away. Maybe it's getting more serious about tracking your cycle with the moon and honoring, right, where it's at. Like, I know that one of the reasons that I got exhausted in July is that my mother-in-law came the weekend I had my period. And that was just too much for me. It was too much. And I should have had boundaries, but I didn't. And then I went right into a really busy week with the kids. So, or maybe it's just slowing down and getting more intentional with how you're taking care of your body, right? Because everything is woven together. And what I see so much of, and I forgot to say this, what I see so much of is that we focus so much on the physical that we forget about the spiritual, right? So I have a lot of women come to me and they're like, Katie, my hormones are a mess. I think I need expensive testing and lab work and all the things for my hormones. This is a really, really popular thing right now. And I think that's why I have to talk about it. That I need, like, there's something, it's like we're trying to find something wrong with us. And we think we have to spend all of these dollars, all of this money for this extensive testing so they can find something wrong. And they can tell us exactly what to do. Well, most of those practitioners, most of those doctors, unless you're working with like Chinese medicine, things like that, they're only looking at the physical. Do you know how much of hormone disruption is rooted in the emotional? The acceptance, the loving of our bodies, the understanding of the wisdom that's in our bodies. And so I've had several women come to me lately, like seeking answers to their hormones. And I can see that the answer is what they want me to tell them isn't the answer they want to receive. They want me to tell them that I've got a giant oil protocol for them, which you probably do. I probably can give you some tips and ideas on oils. But the reality is we have to look at the spiritual component. We have to be willing to do the deep dive into the darkness, because the darkness is part of the light. It's not separate. And when we can look at our shadows and embrace our shadows and embrace our darkness, we will step into the light. We'll step into the light and it'll be beautiful. It'll be perfect. It'll be just what it's supposed to be. Right? Now, I'm not going to discredit any of, the supplements or getting hormones tested or anything like that. But many times, 9 times out of 10, we have to just slow down, sleep, get good water. Good water, what I mean is do not drink your tap water, please. And your filter on your refrigerator is not enough. So drink some good water, get some sleep, get 20 minutes of vitamin D every day. Honor your body with some food, honor your cycle. And once you have if you're doing all those 5 things, and you have been for 3 to 4 months and you still feel like shit, then we'll start to look at some other stuff. But for most of us, we just have to get back to the simple practice of listening to our body. Okay, so, hmm, how's this feeling for everybody? Is it resonating?
Mhm.
Joanne, I think you're unmuted. You're the only one that's still unmuted. What do you think? What's coming up for you?
I don't know why I'm unmuted.
You're fine.
Huh?
You're fine.
Oh, okay. Am I still muted?
No, you're unmuted.
Oh, okay. Well, I've really gone back to, like I just said, I got rid of the IUD and I've gone back to having a cycle, and it's actually making me feel better.
I
I
love
don't
it.
feel like I have as much crazy stress in my body all the time.
Hmm.
And I really, I just had my cycle, and I really just honored that I was having my cycle, even though it was not the most comfortable thing.
Hmm.
But I knew that's what my body needed.
Yep. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, don't you all wish sometimes that we could live in the red tent?
Oh, is that?
The red tent. Do you guys know what the red tent is?
It's a book, right?
It's a book, but the book it's more of a concept. So in ancient civilizations, right, women gathered in tents every month when they had their cycle, their menstrual cycle. So all of the women, most of the women in the village would bleed when it was a new moon, right? When the moon was dark, they would bleed, which is very common still. And while they bled, they would go into a tent for the 5 days and they would rest and they would commune and they would eat good food and they would stop doing whatever they were doing to go honor themselves in this tent. And when and then there was always other women in the village that were the flip cycle that bled with the full moon. And so while the women were in the tent bleeding, there was others that could take care of the daily task outside the tent. And then they would flip, right?
Hmm.
To do the things. And I always think to myself, okay, if women in 3000 AD could do this, when they had to do so much physical and they were like living in tents in the desert, what's our excuse? If they could pause for 5 days and stop doing everything they were doing because their life depended on it, what's our excuse? Right?
Right.
It's the village. It's the village. I mean, did you all know that like yeah, it was like the divine feminine and communities of women that were so intricate. That was how our civilization started. The women were the ones in charge. I mean, go watch Wonder Woman. That's not made that's I mean, maybe Wonder Woman's powers are made up shit, but the women of the Amazon that lived in that community together, that's not made up stuff. That's how women were. And we've gotten so far away from this and so unconnected from our bodies. And it's time to connect back to our bodies. Okay? So, I want all of you to pause over the next couple of days and I want you to explore everything that we went through on this call. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to share with you a couple of things that I have had in the works for ways in which you can work with me if you're like, hey, I'm really ready to dive into what's going on with my body. I'm sick and tired of the sick and tired, and I really want to learn how to blend these two together. So, number one, make sure you're in the Facebook community where I promise I will be more active. I kind of had to take a pause for a little bit. And my Instagram. That's where you're going to get those daily tips, those daily reminders, right? Because many of us, we need to allow more accountability into our life and we need to allow things that inspire us daily. And so, my intention with everything I post and everything I do is to give you that dose of information, that little nugget, that little, bit of wisdom. So, those are the first two ways to really get connected. I have two things that I'm bringing back. Or wait, one thing I'm bringing back, and then another thing that I'm launching that will be fun that are in the works. So, as we go into September, I will also be hosting a new moon workshop every single new moon. Okay. So, what we're going to do, it'll be part physical, part spiritual. So, the first part is going to be all about the spiritual. where we really dive into, we connect to the wisdom of our body, we connect to the feelings of the new moon. The second piece of it will be helping us plan out our month based on the stages, the phases of the moon, the current astrology, and your body, right? So really getting clear on what it is you desire. So it's like, hey, here's the spiritual. This is what I desire. I'm going to create this space for us to journal and get clear. And then we're going to create the action plan in a group setting. Okay, so those are going to be coming in September, and all of this you're going to receive as a link. Number 2, coming in probably September-ish. I don't have the exact dates, but I have the whole thing. I am introducing a brand new program called Period School. And so this is going to be our container where we get to come back and learn how to actually love our body, love our cycle, and not hate it, right? And we're going to really dive into cyclical living and start to learn the how of designing your life with your menstrual cycle so that we can learn how to tap into our intuition. And for ladies that are not bleeding, it's totally fine. You still have an ebb and a flow with the moon. It just might not have the bleed part with it. And so you are all, everybody is still welcome. You know, if you're nursing, if you're pregnant, if if you're not bleeding anymore for whatever reason, you are still connected to the moon and the seasons because you are a woman and women are connected. This is how our bodies were designed. Perfectly, beautifully perfect. And so we're going to talk about that. So that's coming soon. There will be a link if you want to get on the interest list. I don't have all of the details on that, but it is coming and I am like so excited. And if you don't want to wait for any of that, I have something that I've put together called Wild Clarity. And so what Wild Clarity is it is a 1-month container where you work individually with me in your goals to get clear on what it is you need right now in this moment. We clear the blocks. So what we're going to do is the 90-minute energy session with me that kicks us off for our month of working together. And with that 90-minute energy session, I help you, because that's where my gifts lie, is I can see below the surface. I can get to the root of what's holding you back, right? That spiritual side, that subconscious side, right? I'm going to help you get there. We're going to trust that whatever is ready to clear is going to clear. So we're going to go into that subconscious programming. We're going to bring awareness to it. We're going to deal with it. We're going to create some magic together. We're going to get really clear on your goals. And what I find a lot of times when it comes to Wild Clarity, the goals that you think you're supposed to have aren't actually the goals that you're really supposed to have. And so in this 90 minutes together, that's what we get really, really, really crystal clear on. And then for the rest of the month, you have access to me to where you'll get daily energy balances. You always have Voxer access, which is like a walkie-talkie system. So you can message me every day if you need to, every couple of days if you need to. And then we create a step-by-step action plan where I'm going to hold you accountable to the action plan. And so it might be like you get a random message from me on a Tuesday because I've tapped into your energy and I'm going to tell you what spirit has given the message that you might not be able to hear, right? So it's more of that one-on-one accountability. And so for Wild Clarity, I have 5 spots for August. That's it. There are 5 beta spots for August. And so if that's something that you want to jump on at a very reduced price and to kind of kickstart the program, 5 spots for August. And so I will be putting all of this in an email and in a group so that you can explore and you can see if this is the right fit for you. Okay. Everybody's in a different place. I trust that you are going to know exactly which action is for you. My wish is that you just take some action to move forward. Listen to you, pause, slow down. There is a rise up happening within women right now. And it's beautiful. And it's a beautiful unfolding. And the tools that I'm going to teach you are tools that so many other women need. Would you agree? Right? And so we're going to keep it real. We're going to keep it bold. I'm going to make a promise to you right now. I will not dim my light for anybody anymore. I am going to show up with that confidence, right? The confidence, those words that I wrote down in my little journal: magnetic, confident, and abundant. Those are my words. I want you to own your words of freedom, peace, light, peace, strength, belief, authentic, healthy, happy, compassion, strength, expansion. It's time to take these little circles. It's time to put them like this. Because when we live like this for too long, that's when our hormones are a mess. That's when we're depleted. That's when we feel like we're gonna, bite our husband's heads off, our partner's heads off. It is time to come, not just like this. Maybe we're kind of feeling like this. We get glimpses of what it feels like. I want to teach you this. Who's committed to this? Are y'all committed? All right. Okay, so that's what I had today. That was my message that came through loud and clear. I had never seen these little circles, but now we got the circles and we're going to have fun with the circles. I have visions of like beautiful graphics and images beyond this, but thank you for being here for the message today. Again, whether you listen to this live or you're going to grab this as a recording later on, I honor you and I'm so proud of you, and I can't wait to see where this journey takes us. Oh, so good. Bye, everyone.